So today, or in this lesson, we're going to be styling specific sections using class selectors. If we style everything exactly the same, so like all our H2s, all our headings, all our paragraphs, if we style all of that exactly the same, the page feels a little flat. Classes let us target specific sections. So if you remember in lesson 5 of week 1, you added a class called bio, and it just went around the biography section of, about Grandma Probst's life. Obviously, that's just a very short little paragraph. Your paragraphs for your final project are going to be much more detailed than what I've given you here. This is just to show you an example of what it might look like. So we added class names in HTML. So right here we have a div class equals bio. And then in CSS, we target them with a dot. So the dot matters. Without CSS, or I'm sorry, without the dot, CSS can't find the class. So scroll all the way down to the bottom of your styles.css document, okay? And we're going to target the bio class. So it's dot bio. That gets an open and closed curly brackets just like everything else. And then we're going to just change the background color to white so you can see what it does. All right, so it changed that whole section. So in HTML, we had that class around that H2 and that paragraph. So it made the background of that whole class white. Again, the dot matters. Without it, CSS won't find the class. So make sure you use that dot right in front of the class name and then open and close curly brackets, and then you can change anything you want to in that class. Okay? We're going to add a little bit more styling to this. So I'm going to add a padding, which gives the area around the text a little bit more room. So we're going to add a 10 pixel padding, and we're going to add a border of 1 pixel solid black. Okay, I'm going to leave the background color white just so you can see the differences and see how it made that padding around that text a little bit wider than it was before, and it gave this a black border around it. I'm going to make that border a little bit bigger so you can see it a little bit better in the preview. Okay, so some common things that you're going to do when you're trying to style a class. You're going to forget the dot at the beginning of the class name. Don't forget the dot. You're going to misspell the class name. You've named it something over here, like let's just say you just named it by, okay? And you called it bio over here. If I do that, then you can see nothing happens. But the minute that they're both spelled the same, it fixes my error. So make sure you check your spelling, okay? And then finally, the last thing that is a common mistake is to go into your HTML document and do your style in there. Now, there are some things that are called inline styling that we'll get to later on. Like, let's say you have all of your paragraphs styled a certain way, but you want to emphasize a few words in one paragraph, not in every paragraph. And so we'll talk about that later on. For right now, all of your styling should happen in your style sheet. Today, you have a goal of styling one section using a class. So even if you only did the one section in lesson 4 last week, you should be able to style the bio class and make sure that it looks different from the rest. It does not have to look exactly like mine. You can style it however you want, but this is an example for you to jump off from. Have fun.